Hey guys, it's Courtney with the Kitchen Garden, and today I want to talk to you about how important it is to have your soil tested. If not every year, at least every couple of years. It gives you vital information that you need to know about your garden soil or your flower bed soil or even the soil in your lawn that will help your grass to grow better, your vegetables to be healthier, and for your fruit to produce better. So let me tell you all about what you'll need to do to get a little soil sample and a whole lot of information. Okay, so why would you need a soil sample? Even if you filled up your raised beds with soil from a reputable dealer or bags of soil from the hardware store, why would you need a soil sample? Well, if you've gotten your soil recently, chances are it's been thoroughly tested. That is what at least our state requires. I live in the state of North Carolina. But if that soil has been in your raised beds or it's native soil from your backyard, then I highly recommend that you get it tested, if not once a year, then every couple of years, just to give you the heads up on what's actually in it and how it's helping or hurting your plants from growing well. So here in the state of North Carolina, we have these handy dandy boxes that allow us to put soil in. We put soil into these and then we ship them off to NC State University, where they test them and get back to us with the pH of the soil, because pH is important, especially if you're trying to grow things that prefer a higher pH or a lower pH. That way you need to know you'll know if you need to add garden lime to any of your soil. But it also gives you feedback on your phosphorus and potassium content in the soil, which can all be amended with fertilizers. All right, so how do you go about getting a soil sample? The best way is to reach out to your cooperative extension. Most states have them, and in fact, here in North Carolina, almost every county has a cooperative extension office, and there they'll give you the cardboard box that you'll need, as well as a document to fill out, to put your information, your email address and things like that, so that they can get your results back to you, because it doesn't make a hill of beans, as my grandfather would say, if you don't actually get your results back. Now, at least in our state, they have a little they have planting codes on the back, so that when you take your soil samples, you're going to specify on it where this sample has come from. I use a little code. For example, I do a sample for each raised bed, so I'll put RB1 and RB2, whatever code you come up with, to help you determine where the soil came from when you get your sample back. Okay, I also have a test over by my blueberries, so that's going to be more in the ground, and I'll put BB1. I now have fruit trees and pear trees, so if I'm going to do soil from around there, I'll indicate that as well. And our form allows us, for me to put, for example, my RB1, my raised bed 1, soil test. I'll put it on its own line, and then I'll specify that it's a vegetable garden, and for where my blueberries grow, they have a whole code for just blueberries. So this allows them to know what you're trying to grow with the soil in that particular sample, and that will influence the recommendations that it gives you for fertilizers and whether or not that particular area needs any garden lime. So it's a lot of helpful information. And this is why it's really great to go ahead and do your soil sample at the end of a year or at the very beginning of a new year, so that you have time to amend your soil in time to plant your spring garden. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of actually taking a sample. What you'll need is a spade, and I've just taken my sample, so it's nice and dirty. You don't want to take your sample from the very top layer of soil. Okay, instead you want to use your spade. You want to get it, especially in a raised bed, about 4 inches down. If you are taking a sample from an actual bed that's in the ground, a flower bed or a lawn, then you might even want to get a little deeper. So about 4 inches down on a raised bed though, and instead of taking the sample from just one spot, I'm going to hit spots all around this bed and fill up my box, which I did a little earlier. Fill up the box. Ours has a fill line and they want it packed. It's also important, most states have these cardboard boxes, that you don't get soil that's been recently watered or rained on, because it'll soak right through. I have seen some people put their samples in a Ziploc and then put it inside this bag, and that works as well if you're a little nervous about it all falling apart. Now this is a pretty full box, and they want it full because the more soil you give them to work with, the more soil they'll have to test, which is always a good thing. So pack your soil up in your box, make sure it's full, fill out your sheet accordingly, and then you should get back some very useful information about your soil. In fact, last year, one of my back beds, we got some feedback about really high phosphorus levels in our little row garden in the back. And what that meant is that when I picked out fertilizers, I wasn't going to use a general 10-10-10 fertilizer. I needed to find something where that middle number, that phosphorus content of that fertilizer, was 0. It's actually really hard to find. I had to use blood meal because it was the only thing I could find locally that didn't have any phosphorus in it, but had some potassium. The one thing that your soil test will not give you is nitrogen content, simply because nitrogen fluctuates pretty easily, pretty quickly, and if you are counting on that soil sample to last you a couple years, that nitrogen content will waver. Based on what you've grown, for example, if you had beans in this bed, that would be a nitrogen fixing or nitrogen producing plant. And so the next year would have more nitrogen in it naturally. A good way to just keep making sure that your soil is not going to be depleted if you're not getting a soil sample each year is to amend it with compost. And also to rotate your vegetables. So maybe beans rotating through your beds, heavy feeders like tomatoes, not planting them in the same place each year. That should help your soil to be able to regenerate itself and not be so depleted year after year. Having a hard time finding my words. But soil samples are important. If you're not sure how to read a soil report, I'm going to put the video down below that will tell you exactly how to read a soil report. They're probably pretty similar from state to state because we all need to grow things and we all do that in soil. So unless you're doing hydroponics, which is a whole different ball of wax. So I hope you guys found this helpful. Please make sure, again, you take your soil samples from a range around your area, at least 4 feet deep. Fill that box up and get it sent off in plenty of time to be able to get your results back and amend your soil before the spring planting season begins. So hope you guys have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye.